Welcome to part 2, everyone. The invisible creates the physical. Who would have thought that your thoughts matter? Who would have thought that thought form creates physical form? Enjoy the show, everyone. So, what's it going to be? Indoctrination? Indoctrination? Seriously. 4 pillars of emergency care. First of all, constipation, infection, inflammation. So what happens when that happens? Well, constipation, you reabsorb your own waste. That's the infection. Okay? Once you absorb the infection, you get inflamed. Come on, we all know that. That's just basic domino effect. Okay, from there, you get inflammation. So now you've got pain. And what do you want to do? You want to get rid of the inflammation. You want to get rid of the pain. So now you're going to drug yourself. But meanwhile, pain is a GPS. Pain was your friend. Pain is your God-given friend. If you didn't have pain, that feeling of pain when you're off track, you'd be dead already. So you go ahead and keep on trying to kill pain, and you're trying to kill yourself. And that's what we call autoimmune disease, right? An autoimmune disease is the body attacking itself. Oh, that would be you, because everything happens from the invisible before the physical. So here we go. Constipation creates the infection. Infection creates the inflammation. So now you need medication to dumb down the inflammation and the pain. And guess what? Now you're just becoming more contaminated. But what did they do before you were constipated? You wouldn't have been constipated if your beliefs weren't contaminated first. Because, like I said, invisible creates the physical. Okay? And then from there, guess what? Now you've went and taken the medication. So now you don't feel the pain. You don't feel the inflammation. But guess what? It's still going on in the body. It's just that now you've got what? A brain disconnection. So now your brain is not sensing the inflammation or the pain, even though it's still happening. Isn't that great? So now what's going to happen? Well, we're going to get a scar tissue issue. And then that scar tissue issue is going to build, and you're going to get more scar tissue, more displaced calcium from your bones, because you got to buffer down the inflammation. So now the calcium is going to come from your bones, okay? And the scar tissue is going to come, the fibrin, to try to create a wall so the inflammation doesn't spread. So now you've got a fibroid. Now you've got massive scar tissue. You might even have a tumor. So now you've got to have surgery. But guess what? What do we know? We know that when you have surgery, it creates more scar tissue than anything else. And understand something. When you start to get displaced calcium, when you start to get crystallization, okay, from the lactic and uric acid, when you get the displaced calcium from the bones and you start getting this physical block, it cuts down circulation. When you cut down circulation, you cut down nutrition. When you cut down nutrition, you cut down oxygen. You cut down the oxygen long enough and strong enough, you've got mutation. So now you're going to have mutation because the cells don't want to die and they want to live. So to live, they have to become something else. So now they have to live off of lactic acid. They have to live off of lactic acid. They have to live off of sugar because there's not enough oxygen around because you suffocated that area. So now you need chemo and radiation to fight the mutation. And welcome, because we are not a Braveheart nation anymore. We are an inflammation of pain and suffering. And this is all created from the domino effect of schooling. They ruled, schooled, and they fooled us. So let's get this. Medical care is emergency care. My daughter wouldn't be alive if it wasn't for emergency care. A lot of people too, but you shouldn't be going to the hospital only once a year. How many times should you be in an ambulance? Remember something. If you're going to the hospital and you can drive there, is that really emergency care? Or have you learned the golden rules? And that is, first we get constipated. And then we have infection, which creates inflammation. And inflammation creates pain. And then that creates crystallization, scar tissue formation, and calcification, and leads to everything else. And guess what? You don't even know how to look after yourself. So you've been graced this beautiful body from God above. And then they stole your body from you because they gave you that dysfunctional manual. But it was passed down from family member to family member. So what are you going to decide to be today? Do you want to be the family curse or the family blessing? I think I know which one. I really do. So, the medical model, 4 painful pillars. What you eat, think, and drink Does not matter. We will keep an eye on that for you. Really? Thanks for that. What are you going to do? Live under my bed, behind my toilet? There is nothing else we can do for you. Go home and get your affairs in order, because we've done everything. And guess what? They have. They have done everything. But we haven't started yet. Because until you take massive personal action, you will never have your health, wealth, or anything else. You will never have a beautiful relationship with yourself or anyone else. You need to take massive personal action, because guess what? You don't need to be treated. You need to be trained. Listen to me. You don't need a practitioner. You need to become your own practitioner. And that is how this game is played. That's how you win in this game. But understand something. If you don't believe me, then continue doing what you're doing. Go ahead, go shopping, get those frankenfoods, right? And those frankenfoods are made up of antibiotics, GMOs, and Roundup. Now, what do you think that those things do to undermine the large intestine? They tear your large intestine apart. They convert your good bacteria to bad bacteria. They take the yeast and change it into fungus. What else do they do? Well, it creates inflammation, which causes scar tissue formation, and then you get enough scar tissue in your colon, and you cut off your circulation, and then you start to lose tone, and then your colon is flabby, and it falls down. That's right, it falls down, and it prolapses. How many people do you see where their guts, their abdomen, is hanging down and out, and even over their belt? Okay, all right? Guess who got punched below the belt? All right, so understand something, everybody, and you need to get this, all right? It's either self-love or a self-hate program. And people don't believe that. But unless you're going to love yourself well, you're going to hate yourself all the way to hell. And that's the bottom line. Let me tell you something. This picture here, same age, but different choices. But understand something. You know what they say? We all have choice. I don't believe that. When we get here, we do not have a choice. From 0 to 7, okay, we are little sponges, and we are going to become what mommy and daddy are. We're going to have the moods they have, we're going to eat the foods they have, and we are going to get the illnesses they have. And not because it's genetic, it's because it's epigenetic, okay, because their beliefs become our beliefs. So we need to get that. So understand something, same age, different choices. So understand, today, you're going to get your choices. So, how to create an amazing life? Well, first of all, you've got to look at it this way. It's all about the mind, it's all about the body, and it's all about the spirit. And what we want to do for you, okay, this is what I've worked for 40 years, is to create the perfect day. Now, if you could create the perfect day and repeat that every day, understand something. Things are still going to go sideways. There's still going to be bumps in the road, quick right-hand turns, quick left-hand turns. But understand something. You're going to learn. You're not going to burn. You're going to stay connected to your breath, lion heart breathing, shoulders back, chin up. And you're going to understand that you decided to participate in the greatest adventure in the universe called Planet Earth, okay? Planet Earth, where guess what? Sometimes this is a life-threatening experience, but it's only for the ruled, schooled, and fooled. And I promise you that we're going to take you to the other side today. So let's get this. And this is factual. 70 to 90% of all your beliefs, okay, are formed from the age 0 to 7. And also, please understand this. You have no filter. You're a walking, talking, living little sponge, and you take everything in. Oh, that's how I eat? Oh, that's how I play with my brother and sister? Oh, is that how I treat myself? Oh, is that the way I act? Oh, is that the mood I need? Oh, is that the way I should have a tantrum? If I do this, I'll get this. If I don't do this, I won't get this. Let me tell you something. This is why we put together, okay, the perfect pain-free pregnancy. It's a master training for couples who want to learn how to love themselves and love each other so that they can raise the most beautiful, beautiful relationship with their self and their family. Because everybody says it's all about family. And you know what? Corporations, they're liar, pants on fire. They don't care about your family. They're selling your family off by the pound. And that's the reality. And understand something. You find me a functional family. You find me a functional couple. You find me someone who totally fills up their own heart and doesn't demand the love from everybody else, their family, the world, and that they fill up their own heart so that they don't get hurt, because hurt people hurt people. I make that my life, is to fill up my heart with love and shine that on everyone. And if you think that this is not the way to go, if you think this is selfish and you do not understand that we all have needs, and if you're not selfish enough to find out what the needs that you need to be looking after for yourself so that you do not hurt others, then there's going to be bumps along the road. Now, like I said, the invisible creates the physical, all right? You need to get this. The invisible creates the visible. The invisible creates the physical. Okay? It's not a condition, it's a program. Okay? Your physical sickness is from the program you run. My mother had breast cancer. I'm going to have breast cancer. My father had heart disease. I'm going to have heart disease. This is not true. They found out it's not true. It's not genetics. It's epigenetics. It was called the Genome Project. They spent multi-millions of dollars and found out it's not genetic. Disease is not genetic. Disease is a person who's not at ease. A disease is a person who's not at ease because they're running programs, okay, that are negative. And what that does is it causes chemicals and hormones that should never be pumped on a daily basis throughout the day continually. And you're tearing yourself apart. So let's get this. From a cane to a walker to a wheelchair to depends, okay, to the bed. No, I'm going to tell you something right now, and I need everybody to get this, okay? You've been programmed for the cane, for the walker, for the wheelchair, for the nursing home. And it stops here today. You go to a nursing home and go and sit down with everybody at breakfast. And what is everybody talking about? Who had a good poop? How much pain they're in? How constipated they are? How constipated they are from the drugs that they have to take because of the pain and inflammation they have. And how numbed out they are. And a lot of people, look at it's like this, okay? Don't tell me there's not a problem. 47% of all women leak urine. Got it? 8% of the population, okay, go number 2 in their pants. Understand this. When somebody starts to have a problem urinating and going to the bathroom, they're losing their life. And when somebody can no longer poo, they're on their way out. You need to get this. The biggest illness on this planet, people do not want to talk about it. It's called gut rot. You are rotting from the inside out, and it's from your large intestine. And you know what? There was a statement that 85% of all disease, and it was a study, I'll be talking about it, is created because of, all right, a bad bowel. And I'm going to tell you right now, I believe that it's like 95 to 98%. Okay, on a physical level. But we know that everything physical was emotional first. We know that wherever you have pain and suffering in the body, it depends on the negative emotion that you run long enough and strong enough. And what are the combinations of the negative emotions that create certain illnesses. And I will be talking about that. And I'll be talking about that in the emotional intelligence of disease and healing. And that's another masterclass that I have done for you. And to prove my point that the game is rigged, take a look at this slide. The Royal Society of Medicine stated, okay, over 70 years ago, all right, that a dysfunctional bowel is responsible for 85% of all physical illness. Okay, so we know that 92% of the population today has an autoimmune disease, which means that the body is actually attacking itself. Now, the body could never attack itself unless there was a reason, there was an invader. Now, I want you to think about this, and I want you to keep things as logical as possible and understand something. That invader is because your large intestine has become a screen door. in a submarine. Now, how would that work? Well, the submarine's going to sink, and so is your health. So understand something. The Royal Society of Medicine stated that 85% of all physical illness is caused because of a dysfunctional large intestine. Now, I need you to get this. They would never state that today. And I will prove that they wouldn't be allowed to state that today, because Big Pharma has a chokehold on the whole medical industry, because the medical industry works for Big Pharma. They actually don't work for you. So you need to get that. So, and let's also get something really, really straight here. There are no incurable diseases, only incurable people. Now, when I say there's no incurable diseases, there's only incurable people, you have to understand something. People are beautiful. It's their thoughts that aren't. People aren't bad, but it's their thoughts that can be bad. It's their programs that they're running. And understand something. We'll get into it to a certain degree, but not as deep as I probably would like to go. And that is that your subconscious is 90% of your mind. And the reality is you don't know it. And you also don't know that everything you ever learned, I mean, you do know, but, is it in your present moment? Is it in your conscious mind that everything that you've learned has only been learned through out of repetition? So that's why there's incurable people. Because until people think consciously in the present moment and start observing, not judging, but observing the way they eat, drink, and think, they're going down the drink. And you need to know that. Let me explain this a little more. So to prove my point, let's take a look at this slide. I'm not going to go into this in real great detail, but understand something. This is where it all begins, okay? So get this. Image creates thought. So what are the images that you have? Because I need you to understand something. Your life is a movie. And you're the director, you're the writer, you're the producer, and you're the leading star. And the choices that you make, whether you decide today is going to be a drama, a comedy, or where you are the superhero in this great adventure called your life, is going to be up to you. But the reality is people don't know that they have a choice, because you'll never know you have the choice until you realize you have to master your subconscious. And if you don't master your subconscious, then someone else is mastering you. So let's walk through this slide slowly. So we know that image creates thought. So before you ever have any thought, you have an image of it. That's right, you have an image of it. So what you imagine with your imagination, okay, is going to be your creation. So what you imagine with your imagination is going to end up being your creation. How's that working for you? You'll know, because at every given moment, you are writing the script of your life. So image creates thought. Now that thought would create what? Emotion. Okay, so that's called energy in motion, right? So the E stands for energy, and then we've got motion. So energy and motion is emotion. Now, emotion creates feelings, but where are those emotions? Are those emotions based under love, or are they based under fear, hate, anger? You have to be the one who creates what you have in your life, because it's your image that creates it. So emotion creates feelings, okay? So where are those feelings? Are they high vibrational? Are they low vibrational? You'll know, because guess what? If you've been diagnosed with what? Depression, then we know that all you've been doing is having bad images that create bad thoughts, that create bad emotions, that create bad feelings. And understand something. The only difference between you and someone else who creates good images or bad images is the programs that you've been taught from 0 to 7. You think I'm kidding? I'm not. 70 to 90% of the programs that you run, even though you could be 90 years old right now, are probably created from 0 to 7. You have to understand we're walking, talking little sponges. But here's the reality. If nobody told you have to go in and rewrite those programs, that you have to do some gardening, that you've got to pull out those weeds, and you've got to plant beautiful images that create beautiful thoughts, that create beautiful emotions, that create beautiful feelings, then you would be creating the wrong frequency, wouldn't you? And understand something, everything is about light, energy, okay, and frequencies. So your feelings create a frequency. If the frequency is low or negative or high and positive, is going to make a big difference. Because guess what? The invisible creates the visible. The invisible creates the physical. Oh my God, right to a bowel movement, right to the burping, right to everything that you experience in your life. So now we know that a frequency can actually go in and trigger the chemical and hormones. Okay, now how's that happen? Well, because your brain is the chemist. Your brain is the editor. Your brain will edit things. Nope, don't know that feeling. I don't know unconditional total love. Don't want it. Your brain doesn't care if it's going to save your life or not. If it's new, it doesn't want it. It hates the future, can't stand the present, wants to live in the past. And you know that you cannot fix a problem from what you've learned in your past. You've got to learn something new to create something new. I think you get that part. And you got to create something new if you want to learn how to poo. Okay? So you've got to have a change in your personality, you have a change in your reality, so in your physical well-being. So we know that the frequency goes in and it triggers the brain, and the brain releases the chemicals and hormones. Okay? So this is very important for what we're going to be talking about. So the chemist, again, let's go through it one more time. Take a look at the slide. So the chemist is the brain. The brain releases chemicals and hormones depending on what the frequency is. If the frequency is a beautiful frequency based on love, and if it's based on unconditional love, then we're bringing on the joy, okay? So that would put you into a parasympathetic state. But if it is not based on love, if it is based on anger, hate, fear, depression, anxiety, then you're going to keep driving yourself into a sympathetic state. Now, parasympathetic state will put you into rest and restore. Okay, I think we all get that. Sympathetic state is going to create inflammation, crystallization, scar tissue formation, and eventually mutation. Now, you need to get this. If I was dumping adrenaline, okay, and cortisol into you, but mainly adrenaline, and I did that, and I kept dripping it all day long, that would be called anxiety, okay? If I dumped a whole bunch of adrenaline all at once, boom, that means that you're in some kind of trauma, drama, terror, right? So that means that, guess what? You need to run because there's a tiger. But the problem is, these are invisible tigers now, so you don't run anywhere. You just sit there and you allow this acid to drip into you and eat away at your body. And guess what? What's the main disease today? Autoimmune disease. What does that mean? The body is attacking itself? No. You are attacking yourself on an emotional level first, and then the chemistry that you've created is now attacking you on a physical level, and that is what causes the problem. So your brain will always become inflamed before any other part of your body does. And I'll be talking about that in the emotional chemistry of disease and healing masterclass, so you'll want to check that out. So you're either at ease or you are the disease. Okay, so perception orchestrates chemistry. Perception orchestrates chemistry. Take a look at the bottom picture. Doesn't she just love herself? She's giving herself a hug. And don't forget, that's why I invented this. Braveheart 3, 2, 1, I got this. This is a hug. This is a kiss. This snaps me back to the present moment. We'll talk about that as we move on. But we definitely want to move on. We definitely want to let go. And that would be part of our constipation problem. If we don't learn to let go, okay, on an emotional level first, then we'll never let go on a physical level. So we know that perception orchestrates chemistry. So now, let's take a look at it. Love. What does love do? Well, love releases dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins. It gives you joy. It creates healing because it puts you in a parasympathetic state. And understand something. Those hormones together spell dose. Are you getting your daily dose of love every day, every moment? Because if you were to know how to love yourself, care for yourself, respect yourself, honor yourself at every given moment, you would live the life that you were promised in those fairy tales. Because a beautiful life is not a fairy tale, but you have to become the master of your emotions, of your frequencies. So let's say that you're not Well, then guess what? That's under the rule of hate, isn't it? Because you may not believe this, but I believe that you're either loving on yourself or hating on yourself. Okay, it's not like in between. So do you love yourself? Well, I don't really love myself, but no, there's no in between here, okay? And you may not be turning the burner up to full, but the reality is, even if the burner was on simmer, okay, you're going to become dehydrated and inflamed. Eventually, the water's going to leave that pot, okay? All right, so with hate, we release histamine, adrenaline, and cortisol. And what does that do? That puts us into a flight, fight, fright, freeze situation. And that puts us into a sympathetic state. Now, understand something. At least back when we lived in the caves and there was actual tigers and dinosaurs that wanted to eat us, you know, we could run and burn off the histamine, the adrenaline, the cortisol. But because we sit at a desk mainly, or we're sitting watching TV and we're getting traumatized by the news, or we're sitting at the table having a coffee or a tea and the family's talking about how the end of the world's coming, we're not getting up and we're not moving. If you don't move it, you're going to lose it because it's going to eat you away, because these are acidic chemicals that were used for flight, fright, and run. So I hope you understand that, okay? Let's move on. So who's really in charge? Well, like I was saying is, guess what? Your conscious mind is only 10% of you. So your subconscious mind is 90% of you. So it's almost like the game was rigged, but I don't think God actually rigged it that way. It was actually to protect us. But the problem is back when we really needed the protection was when the wild animals and when we were being attacked in our villages or in our tents or in our caves or wherever we were. But the reality is today we're only getting really attacked by our own mind. We're the greatest terrorist on this planet, not some other country. And understand, second to our mind being the greatest terrorist, it would be the government. And second to that, it would be the people that actually run the government. And we don't need to get into that. But here's the deal. 90% of your mind is your subconscious, which means that it houses programs. And your subconscious doesn't care, like I said, if the programs are good, bad, sad, indifferent, doesn't matter. You know, and understand, your subconscious is not intelligent. Oh, wait a minute. Yes, it is. Only if you have intelligent programs. And what would that be? Programs based on self-care, self-love, self-respect, self-honor, dignity, all of that. But the reality is, if you were raised, like almost everybody was, to believe that you're not worthy, you're not good enough, okay, and that you lack in so many ways, then you'll run programs, and those programs will keep you there forever. Understand something. This is why the elite are creating this thing called the Big C. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to mention the whole word in this show. But the reality is, it's not about that. It's about commerce. And the reality is look at how they've terrorized the majority of the population. And the majority of the population are either blowing out with diarrhea because they've been so constipated because they can't let go. They can't let go of this BS. So it's filling them up, and that BS being dysfunctional belief systems. And when you fill yourself up with BS, then things are going to stink inside and get really toxic on an emotional level, becomes a physical level, and then you're going to get diarrhea because that is a safety mechanism to let go of the physical waste you've been holding on to and the emotional waste you've been holding on to, because the emotional creates the physical. The invisible creates the physical. The invisible creates the visible. I hope you're getting it. So your subconscious, otherwise your brain, because 90% of it is, will only be as intelligent as the programs that you run. So take a look at your mother and the father and the church that you go to, the school that you went to, the people you hang around with, the shows that you watch, the things that you eat and the things that you think, the things that you drink, the things that you do. Are you a being or a doing? You need to ask yourself that question, because that will be very important to decide how your life is truly going to go. So you need to get this. We are light energy beings. And being light energy beings that actually give off frequency and take frequencies in, watch out what frequency you take in, watch out what you allow to come in. You need to have a filter. Look at, we must learn to feel our way through life, okay? Not think it, okay, until you know that every belief in there is going to honor, respect, and love you totally, unconditionally. So just remember something, feelings create matter. So just know that you can stop this video and take a look. And these are actual slides, okay? These are slides And it shows with using Kirlian photography and infrared where the heat is and what goes on for circulation in the body with different types of emotions. All right? So check that out. Okay. So remember something. So what we're really trying to get to here and what we're really trying to do is create the perfect day in every way. All right? So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to go to docofdetox.com/library and go there and click on the perfect day guide. And then I'd like you to go into the perfect day guide and go to, it's around page 30. And I want you to take a look at the perfect day diet, the perfect day emotional, and perfect day exercise, and the perfect day energy medicine. Now for me, I believe these to be the 4 pillars. Now understand something. This is a template for you to work off of. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do. Take on only what's comfortable, but understand something. Don't push too fast and be obsessive like people can get. And the other thing is, but lovingly give yourself a push every day that you know that you're moving forward. Look at what I did today. Yes, it's more than I did yesterday. And tomorrow I will do more. We are infinite beings and we have unlimited potential. I need you to get that. It was stolen from you. You need to bring this back. Okay? So, in having unlimited potential, what I also want you to do is I'd like you to understand something. Go to my library again and take a look at the A to Z Wellness Guide and understand something. It's a scar tissue issue. I don't care if I do care, but no matter where in your body, whether it's your shoulder, whether it's an organ, whether it's a tendon, whether it's a ligament, whether it's a joint, whether it's a muscle, it doesn't matter. It's a scar tissue issue. And understand something. Today, in our society, we do not look at that. Now, whether you want to believe this or not, if you can't poop, you're in big trouble. And how well you poop and how healthy your poop is will decide your life on a daily basis. And I am not kidding. Now, you need to get this. Whether you believe this or not, most people cannot poop because there is so much scar tissue and adhesions in their abdomen and in their lower pelvis that's choking off their large intestine because it has been leaking so much infection for so long that the inflammation caused the scar tissue formation. And if you've ever had surgery on your abdomen or your lower pelvis, you need to know one thing. Surgery creates more scar tissue than anything else on this planet. So I'm not telling you not to have it. I'm telling you that your body overcompensates because that's a terrorizing situation when somebody takes a knife to you. So you're going to have a ton of scar tissue in there. So after you heal, you better have a Wolfe Non-Surgical therapist to go in there and lovingly take that apart and show you how to get rid of it so that you can restore your circulation. Because if you don't, you're going to have degeneration of tissue and mutation of tissue. Don't believe me. You'll go from surgery to surgery because you can feel that hard lump down there. You can feel the twisting and the pulling. Okay, so these are adhesions. You don't have to have surgery to have them, but you will have tons of them. One surgery can ruin your life if you don't get rid of that scar tissue issue. And you will not be able to poop or pee right. Or for women, make love properly. Or you'll have bladder infections all the time. You'll know what I'm talking about. You'll have low back problems all the time. And understand something, we're going to move on here. But you need to get this. 95 to 98% of all low back problems are because you've got an abdominal problem, because you've got a large intestinal problem. You think I'm kidding? Okay. Well, I will be explaining it in other masterclasses. But the reality is that screen door that you have for a large intestine is leaking waste. Where do you think it is? It's in around L4 and L5 where most back surgeries occur. And what do you think? You're not going to have kidney problems when you don't have colon problems? When your colon, okay, which is supposed to be what? It's supposed to be what? Your sewer system and the major part of your immune system becomes a cesspool. And when that cesspool starts to leak like a screen door in a submarine, you don't think it's going to infect and inflame everywhere and even cause you to even have hip surgery or prostate problems, uterine problems, bladder problems, ovarian problems, I can't get pregnant, fibroids, cysts, all of that. It all comes from there. And I will have anyone, anywhere, come on. I would love to go and have a debate on this if someone feels differently. Because remember something, BS baffles brains, dysfunctional belief systems. But I will tell you something, get logical. That which created us, our creator of the universe, made everything logical. Man has manipulated everything and confused the whole situation. This is the end of part 2. The invisible creates the physical. We will see you in part 3, the law of repetition.